Hi guys, welcome back to my channel Bookaholic Prompting. This is Angela here. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite books of 2020. 2020, as you all know, has been a very depressing year. I'm glad that now we have a vaccine or many vaccine candidates, and many countries are rolling out the programs. So I'm looking forward to a year of recovery and much more happiness. Being locked up during quarantine time gave me a lot of time to read. That's one big, huge positive outcome of this whole pandemic situation. Apart from the fact that I got a lot of time to spend with my family. So I'm really grateful and thankful for that. And also, I got enough time to communicate and connect with the online bookish community. I started following a lot of booktubers and discovered a lot of amazing new books which otherwise would have not caught my attention. So I'm really thankful for this amazing bookish community out there. And also I had enough time to think about books, to read about books, and to note down my opinions about the books. And then I decided, why not start a booktube channel? So inspired by all the wonderful booktubers out there, I decided to start my own channel. I know there are booktubers who read a lot of books, like a lot of books, like 100 plus books. I'm a slow reader, so I'm not going to reveal how many books I read. I'm a little bit embarrassed uh, by it, but I can tell you that my 2021 reading challenge on Goodreads has a target of 50 books, so you can understand that. Definitely, the number of books that I read this year was less than 50. However, from this teeny tiny meager list of books that I read this year, I have top picks for you, which really entertained me, all of them. And so, without further ado, let's get on with it. First book in this list is a YA fantasy. In one of my previous videos, I had mentioned that I do not generally read YA fantasy, and this was my first attempt at anything young adult apart from The Fault in Our Stars. I was a little bit apprehensive because I wasn't sure if I was wasting my effort and time on a book which I'm not gonna like eventually. Anyways, and I was kind of embarrassed because I'm just about to turn 40 next year, and what am I doing reading books meant for young adults and teenage kids? But boy, was I surprised. It was such a great book. Of course, I'm talking about Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo. So this tale, if you remove or from your brain the fact that the characters are in their late teens, it actually looks or reads like any other fantasy novel. Yes, of course, it might not be that complicated like adult fantasy. However, I was thoroughly entertained. So this book is based on a city which is modeled after 19th or 20th century Amsterdam or New York, and it tells a tale of a group of thieves and setting on a heist. The characters are funny, they are edgy, they are brave and fantastical. Also, I like the fact that the author has taken care to include diverse race and gender identities into the narrative. It's beautiful. I just recommend this book to anybody, not just teenagers, but everybody and anybody. It's good, nice, easy entertainment, and I'm looking forward to reading the second book in the duology, which is Crooked Kingdom. I have done a review of Six of Crows, so you can check that out. The link in the description. Second book in the list is a non-fiction book which has been read by anybody and everybody across the globe, which is Sapience by Yuval Noah Harari. I initially started this book in the beginning of 2019 due to a busy schedule at work and at home. I couldn't finish the book, so I restarted this book in 2020, and I just couldn't put it down. It just, in the gap between 2019 and 2020, I had watched so many interviews of Yuval, and I was so charged up to read this book. And then once I started, I couldn't just stop it. Uh, I don't have to talk much about this book. There is so much talked about this book, so many reviews out there. It's just brilliant. If you haven't read it yet, please pick it up and read. I mean, there is nothing much I can tell you to force you to read it, other than just saying that it will be a perspective changing, a thought provoking book for you. That I can guarantee. So, that is all about Sapience. Another brilliant book which I read is a non-fiction book by A.V. Shaktidharan called AntiGods Own Country, a short history of Brahmanical colonization of Kerala. And as you might have noticed, the title of this book, "AntiGods Own Country," is kind of a funny, ironic wordplay on the tourist tagline of Kerala called "God's Own Country." Right? This book, it brilliantly and bravely, considering the time that we are living in right now and the political atmosphere in the country, lays out chapter after chapter of how the Brahmanical hegemony have systematically invaded, colonized, and at the end, and highlighted the existing animistic gods and religions of the south of India, especially Kerala. If you've noticed, the gods that are worshipped mainly in the south have a very non-Aryan touch and origin to them. And why is it so? This book explains it very nicely, why there is such a multifarious aspect and facet to the gods that are worshipped down in the south. There is a nice gist of the book in the back cover, which I would like to read out to you, because it does a much better job of explaining what the book is about than what I just told. What is the history of those depicted as asuras in India? What happens when Adivasi, Dravidian, Buddhist, and Dalit narratives, with their egalitarian spirituality, confront an invasive Brahmanism? What is the counter narrative to the ritually reenacted murders of Mahishasura, Ravana, and Bali? Is the trouble over Shabarimala merely about an unrepentant patriarchy? AntiGods Own Country reveals the histories that are contested in the South Indian state of Kerala. At the center of the story that A.V. Shaktidharan charts is the Asura king Mahabali, whose subjugation, commemorated annually as Onam, became symbolic of the fate of the first peoples of the state in the face of Aryan domination. This book examines the multifarious origins of the myths of non-Aryan deities like Muttappan, Suyodhana, various mother goddesses, all the way up to the cult of Ayyappan. This is a very brilliant book. It does a very good job of dissecting and understanding the heterogeneity of the religious practices and the gods that are worshipped down in the south. So please read it. It's a very tiny book. It's just 167 books, including the bibliography and the acknowledgements and the preface and all that. So please pick it up and read it. You can see it's so tiny. Brilliant book. Please read it. Next up is The Lies of Lokmora by Scott Lynch. So this is a book that I discovered via BookTube recommendations, and boy, I was so happy that I decided to pick this up. However, when I started reading it, and the first 100 pages were such a drag that I was like, I just don't want to read this book. What's happening? I can already predict what's happening. It is kind of a coming of the age hero kind of a book. However, around 100 pages or so, the story takes such a wonderful turn, and the color and the vibrance of the narrative is so excellent. I was so immersed in this book. I just couldn't stop reading it, I even forgot my responsibility at home. So many times I was just sitting in my couch, and I'm like, not couch, I have a rocking chair out there. That's where I usually sit and read. So I was just sitting on that chair and just burning through pages. It was so brilliant, and I just wanted to know what's going to happen next. What's going to happen next? The suspense was killing me. You thought that the story was going in so and so way, it's going to be a win-win for everybody, and then all of a sudden it takes this turn, and then you are worried for the characters that you've been like, yeah, he's gonna win at the end anyways, right? What's gonna happen, like that. And then you are just sitting on the edge of your seat. I'm like, oh my god, please, 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 no, 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 don't, do not let that happen. And so I can only imagine why so many people are such huge fan of this book. I'm really looking forward to the second one in the trilogy. So that is The Lies of Lokmora by Scott Lynch. Last book in the list, but not the least, is a book that everybody has been raving about. Like everybody, every booktuber, every bookstagrammer, anybody who has anything to do with books have been raving about. And I was so intrigued. I wanted to know what the hell this book is about. And boy, I was so glad I picked it up. Just like Lies of Lokmora, I just couldn't put the book down. It was such a wonderful ride. You felt everything that the character felt. And yes, I'm talking about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I do not have a physical copy. I read it in Kindle. Maybe I should have bought a physical copy to display on my bookshelf, favorite books of all time, maybe. The story is about this lady, Addie LaRue. She makes a deal with the devil, or I don't know, god of the night or god of the dark, or basically a creepy, dark, monstrous, godish person. Not person, god-dish entity. And that she wants to live her life the way she wants. This guy comes and says, yes, of course you have it, but once you're done with your life, sell your soul to me. That's the only thing you have to do. And she will say, okay. And then once she does that, she realizes and repents immediately, because the consequence is so heartbreaking, so catastrophical. I just can't explain it. I felt suffocated, reading through the book, because that's what she felt, suffocated living a life uh, which she was living. Because anything more I say would be giving away the main plot of the book, and I don't want to do that, even though it might not be a spoiler. I just don't like doing that to readers. Yeah, because I don't like anybody else doing that to me. I want to discover on my own, right? Especially this is an important plot point. It's interesting to see how her relationship and her feeling towards this devilish entity changes and takes a roller coaster ride throughout the book or throughout her life. And sometimes you are really angry at her. At least I was angry at her doing the things that she was doing, or feeling towards him. But then I thought that, who am I to judge? Because anybody in that situation would do the same thing, because of whatever situation she was in. And then she meets somebody in her life who changes everything that happened till then, and she starts to see hope. And anytime in a book the author gives me hope like that, that is like, when you're hopelessly hopeless, and then all of a sudden you get this tiny shimmer of hope, and then the main character or the person you're rooting for get carried away in it, and then you feel that, you have this foreboding that something is going to happen, something is not right, I don't like where this is going. Some kind of sixth sense, pinching me like, hey, be careful, you're going to be disappointed, don't lose sight, okay, don't be disappointed, be ready to cry. That's what I thought was going to happen. But again, author surprises you. Everybody should read this book. It could be called the fiction of the decade, or maybe most popular book of the decade. I have only one thing to say: please do read it. It's a beautiful book. Those were my topics of 2020. I have one honorable mention, which is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. It's an amazing Gothic novel set in the 1950s Mexican countryside. So it revolves around a woman called Naomi. She is a socialite, not an, not exactly. She's a debutante. Uh, who ventures into cocktail parties in her perfect chic dresses and red lipstick and high heels. And so she is invited in a frantic letter by her cousin to her countryside home where she got married to, and because she thinks that she's going insane, she thinks that there's something mysterious happening there, and she needs somebody to come and rescue her. So Naomi goes there, and she lands in this house called High Place, which has creep written all over it. I mean, the house is creepy, the servants are creepy, the housekeeper is creepy, the master or the head of the family is creepy, everybody is creepy, with the exception of the youngest son in the family, who is the only person that you can relate to, who acts human like. So, in this eerily foggy, depressing environment, uh, Naomi starts to discover there is really something wrong with the house and the people living in it, and she sets out to find out what this whole story is about and why is her cousin in the situation she is in. There are elements of mystery, goth, and surprises in the story. I highly recommend this book. Please do read it. So that's the end of this vlog. I hope you liked my list. If you haven't read any of the books yet, please do read them. You will not be disappointed. I will very soon see you in my next video. Please do subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, please smash the thumbs up button. Also, please comment which were your favorite books of 2020. Maybe I haven't read them yet, and I will pick it up for 2021 TBR. Okay, so thanks for listening in, guys. See you soon. Bye bye.